So today I'm asking a question. Who is responsible for the Pittsburgh Synagogue Massacre? Well, of course, it would be the perpetrator, Robert Bowers, right? Of course. Yes. But his actions come from an ideology formed long ago. I will get to that in a minute. But I first want to read the article on Fox News, and it's called Who is Robert Bowers? Pittsburgh synagogue suspect posted views online. The alleged gunman in Saturday's mass shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue suspect posted views online. The alleged gunman in Saturday's mass shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue spewed anti-Semitic posts on a social media platform where he claimed that Jews were the enemy of white people, according to a report. 2 hours before Robert Bowers, age 46, allegedly burst into the Tree of Life synagogue and opened fire during a Shabbat service, he posted on the chat site gab.com about the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, the New York Times reported. And I'll quote his tweet. It's HIAS likes to bring invaders in that kill our people. I can't stand by and watch my people get slaughtered. Screw your optics, I'm going in. HIAS, a Maryland-based nonprofit, helps refugees around the world and is guided by Jewish values, according to the organization. So before I get started finishing this article, I want to go to the HIAS.org history. Founded in 1881, originally to assist Jews fleeing pogroms in Russia and Eastern Europe. HIAS has touched the life of nearly every Jewish family in America and now welcomes all who have fled persecution. From our beginning, in a storefront on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, a group of American Jews organized to provide much needed comfort and aid to thousands of Jews fleeing waves of anti-Semitic riots. While those who arrived were refugees, people who were being killed in their homelands because of who they were, the world did not have a legal concept for people who needed safe refuge outside their homelands. In New York City, the once tiny Russian Jewish population swelled by the thousands. They formed the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society to bring meals and transportation and jobs for the new arrivals to Manhattan. A shelter was established on the Lower East Side, providing dormitory space, a soup kitchen, and clothing to any needy Jew. HIAS has established a bureau on Ellis Island in 1904, providing transportation services, guiding immigrants through medical screenings, arguing before the Board of Special Inquiry to prevent deportations, and obtaining bonds to guarantee employable status. We lent some of the $25 landing fee and sold railroad tickets at reduced rates to those who headed for other cities. We even installed a kosher kitchen, which provided more than 500,000 meals to new arrivals on Ellis Island. HIAS also found relatives of detained immigrants. 600 immigrants were detained during just 1 month in 1917 because they had neither money nor friends to claim them. HIAS was able to locate relatives for the vast majority of those who were released from Ellis Island. We became famous worldwide in many languages as HIAS, the abbreviation that was our first cable address. In 1921, HIAS bought the former Astor Library on Lafayette Street in Manhattan to serve as a shelter, providing housing, kosher kitchen, a small synagogue, classrooms for job training and civics education, a playground, and a weekly bazaar for the thousands of immigrants who pass through the doors each year. In the 1920s, laws changed to recognize the need for safe haven, but countries like the United States established legal requirement for resettlement. HIAS expanded to ensure that Jewish refugees could find welcome and safety. The outbreak of World War I brought the largest influx of Jews from Eastern Europe yet, more than 138,000 in that year alone, but soon after restrictions limited the number of immigrants allowed into America to no more than 2% of the total of each nationality residing in the U.S. In 1890, severely restricting the entry of Jews from Eastern Europe. Though precious few refugees were rescued during World War II, due to the restrictive national origins quota of 1924, HIAS provided immigration and refugee service to those who were there. It was not until 1965, through the aggressive work of HIAS, that the national origins quota was replaced with a new law liberalizing decades of restrictive admission policies. After the war, we were instrumental in evacuating the displaced persons camps in Europe and aiding in the resettlement of some 150,000 people to 330 communities in the U.S., as well as Canada, Australia, and South America. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as 1951 Refugee Convention, became the basis for U.S. asylum law, giving HIAS the basis for all future work to assist refugees no matter where they were. 1956, HIAS assisted Jews fleeing the Soviet invasion of Hungary and evacuated the Jewish community of Egypt after their expulsion during the Sinai campaign. 1959, HIAS set up operations in Miami to rescue Jews fleeing Cuba's revolution. 1960s, HIAS rescued Jews from Algeria and Libya and arranged with Morocco's King Hassan for the evacuation of his country's huge Jewish population. 1968, HIAS came to the aid of Czechoslovakia's Jews after the suppression of the Prague Spring and to Poland's Jews after pogroms racked that country. 1975, following the fall of Saigon, the State Department requested the aid of HIAS assistance with the resettlement of Vietnamese, Cambodians, Laotians. That year, HIAS found new homes for 3,600 in 150 communities in 38 states. While it is not the first time HIAS had assisted in the resettlement of non-Jews, the organization's assistance with this large-scale refugee crisis garnered a special thank you from President Gerald Ford. HIAS continued to assist refugees from Southeast Asia through 1979. And of course, that was after being asked by the U.S. government to do so. 1977, HIAS helped evacuate the Jews of Ethiopia, which culminated in several dramatic airlifts to Israel. 1979, the overthrow of the Shah precipitated a slow but steady trickle of Jews escaping the oppressive theocracy of Iran. HIAS helped hundreds of Iranian Jews with close family living in the U.S. resettled here. Are you starting to understand the reason why this man started with his hatred of the HIAS? In two modern waves, the Jews of the former Soviet Union had found their way to freedom with the help of HIAS. The first wave peaked in 1979. The second wave, which began in the late 80s, has so far brought more than 140,000 Jews to these shores for reunification with their relatives. While not traditionally considered refugees, the U.S. Congress created special refugee status for religious minorities from the former Soviet Union, which now allows for the resettlement of Jews, Christians, and the Baha'is from Iran. In 2001, HIAS celebrated our 120th anniversary with a HIAS Day festival in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. 2 days after the joyful celebration, Al-Qaeda terrorists attacked America, throwing the entire U.S. immigration system into turmoil. HIAS mobilized its network to continue serving refugees despite extreme delays in the arrival process brought on by increased security measures and the reorganization of the Immigration and Naturalization Service into the Department of Homeland Security. Because we have helped more than 4.5 million people escape persecution, HIS is uniquely qualified to address the modern refugee situation, which has mushroomed into a global humanitarian crisis. But I look at this and I'm looking, and they are almost exclusively an organization to help Jews. Only in the case of the Vietnamese refugees, when the government specifically required, I'm looking at all of this, and 99.9% of this. Now, I know they say that we are the only Jewish organization which mission is to assist refugees wherever they are. But I'm looking through this, and they have nothing to do with the border crisis in the United States. So this is a typical example of somebody who was raised as a Christian who blamed the Jew for everything. I've been talking about this for quite some time, and even in protest against you Christians wearing the yellow star and the yellow clothing of shame, because that's what you Christians did to the Jews for nearly 2,000 years. Blame the Jews for everything. Blame the Jews for all of society's ails and ills, when the fault is in fact your own. So going back to the Fox News report, talks about all the federal charges and everything against this guy. So the actions of Robert Bowers represents the worst of humanity, says Scott W. Brady, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Please know that justice in this case will be swift and it will be severe. So he posted on Gab.com his rants, and Gab.com promotes itself as a free speech alternative to sites like Twitter, which some critics say monitor contents too rigidly. Actually, I have my own opinion about that. But they let the Muslim Jew haters spew all the hate they want, pretty much. Just recently, President Trump complained that Twitter had purged some of his followers. Since the Bauer account launched on Gab in January, there had been frequent posts on the account about Jews, including conspiracy theories, according to reports by the New York Times and Associated Press. One post read, "Close your eyes. It's the filthy, evil Jews bringing the filthy, evil Muslims into the country." Another featured a photo of Nazi concentration camp used to cremate Jews. A caption read, "Make ovens 1488F again." The first two words refer to the white supremacist 14 words slogan, and 88 stands for Heil Hitler because the H is the eighth letter of the alphabet. Other posts featured conspiracy theories about the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews perished during World War II. Other Bowers posts criticized Donald Trump, President Trump. According to the reports, in one post, he called the president a globalist, not a nationalist. There is no make America great as long as there is a in parentheses, slur for Jews. I suppose that means kike infestation. A month ago, he posted photos of 3 handguns he called his Glock family. Gab.com said in a statement that it suspended Bauer's account after his name was mentioned on police radio chatter about the Pittsburgh shooting, and then it backed up the content on the account and alerted the FBI, the company said. Gab unequivocally disavows and condemns all act of terrorism and violence, a statement read. Let me see if and I will read the last part because I don't want people going around and blaming political parties in this particular time right now for it. But I'm going to put the blame where it belongs, and it's going to make plenty of people uncomfortable if anybody listens to this video. Police said that Bowers had 21 guns registered in his name and was not known to law enforcement before the shooting. He's a registered voter with no affiliation in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. For the record, I did not vote for him, nor have I owned or worn or even touched a Make America Great hat. He once posted on social media referring to President Trump. The shooting follows a pattern of massacres in places of worship. It comes days after mail bombs were sent to prominent Democrats, etc. All right. I think I've covered about enough of this. But this is just a repeat of history, folks. And where does this come from? Where do these foul rants accusing the Jews come from? I'll show you. Revelation 12 and verse 10. And as I have pointed out, when the Messiah went to sit beside our Father in heaven in his throne, Satan was cast down to earth. And it says right here, I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation. To where? Well, you see, Jesus or Jesus does not mean salvation. It means swine. Yehoshua, on the other hand, means Jehovah is salvation, or the Father is salvation. So, it says, now salvation is come and strength and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Messiah, not Christos. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down. Now, what did I read just yesterday? I believe it was yesterday, that the Messiah said he has not come to anyone except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And only after he was raised from the dead would a message be sent forth to the Gentiles. And he would have to be sitting on a throne first before that happened. So the brethren would be Israel. So the devil, who is accuser of our brethren, has been thrown down, and he accused them before Jehovah day and night. So this devil used to accuse the brethren before our Father in heaven day and night before he was cast down, almost immediately after the Messiah ascended. So it is not a surprise. It is not shocking that this accuser would teach these accusations that he used to accuse before the Father against the Jews, against all Israel, day and night. And he took his place on the throne in Rome as ruler of the earth shortly thereafter, and began to accuse the Jews, accuse the Jews, accuse the Jews day and night on his throne in Rome. Taking the mantle of Christianity and then continuing to accuse the Jews, accuse the Jews, accuse the Jews, while he sits on that throne in Rome. Spew out his hateful venom against the Jews. Blood libels. Replacement theology. It was all done out of hatred for the Jews and out of hatred for our Father in heaven. And this Bowers fellow, Robert Bowers, he is a product of the cancerous doctrinal statements that have infiltrated and corrupted every Christian house of worship across the entire world. And so I asked a question: who is responsible for this massacre in Pittsburgh? Starting to get uncomfortable yet? Who is it that calls the Jews the synagogue of Satan? Where'd that come from? Does your preacher teach that? If he does, and you attend those church services, then you are a partaker of that sin as well. Now, in the book of John, and Christians pervert the words of Yehoshua. And what they do is they take one little verse out of context and they call all the Jews children of the devil. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from John 8. And I'm going to start with verse 12 after the adulterous woman was let go, set free. And he said he doesn't condemn her, because no man condemns her. Then Yehoshua, not Jesus, not Jesus. Remember, the replacement names are out of hatred for the Father, because within the name of Yehoshua is the name of the Father. And the fact that Christians today use a replacement name proves their hatred for the Father, the rejection of the name of Jehovah. And then spoke Yehoshua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. He that follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, You bear record of yourself. Your record is not true. Yehoshua answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, for I know where I came and where I go. But you cannot tell whence I come and when I go, or where I go. You judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am the one that bears witness of myself, and the Father that has sent me bears witness of me. And of course, that's backed up in the book of Isaiah. So he was right. Then said they unto him, Where is your father? Yehoshua answered, You neither know me nor my father. If you had known me, you should have known my father also. These words spoke Yehoshua in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. Then said Yehoshua unto them, I go my way, and you seek to kill me. I go my way, and you shall seek me, and you shall die in your sins. Where I go, you cannot come. And then said the Jews, Will he kill himself? Because he says, Where I go, you cannot come. And he said unto them, You are from beneath, not below the earth. Beneath is, you are from the earth. And I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. I said therefore unto you that you shall die in your sins. For if you believe not that I am, not that I am he, but that I am, you shall die in your sins. Now, people will take this out of context too. If you believe not that I am, it means if you believe not that I am the Messiah, the one that they were looking for, you shall die in your sins. And then said they unto him, Who are you? And Yehoshua said unto them, Even that I said unto you from the beginning. I have many things to say and to judge of you, but he that sent me is true, and I speak to the world these things which I have heard of him. They understood not that he spoke to them of the Father. And then Yehoshua said unto them, When you have lifted up the Son of Man, that means killed him, then you shall know that I am, and that I do nothing by myself, but as my Father has taught me, I speak these things. So everything Yehoshua does is by the command, by the word from the Father. I'll get to that in a minute here as well. And he that sent me is with me. The Father has not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. You hear that? He does nothing except by the command, by the word, by the logos that comes out of the mouth of the Father. And as he spoke these words, many believed on him. And then said Yehoshua to those Jews which believed on him. Yes, there were Jews who believed on him. If you continue in my word, then you are my disciples indeed. And you shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Now, the verse 33 is incorrectly translated where it says they answered. That doesn't mean the ones who believed answered. It was the Pharisees who answered and said, We be of Abraham's seed, and we were never in bondage to any man. How do you say you shall be made free? Yehoshua answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever commits sin is a servant of sin. And the servant abides not in the house forever, but the Son abides forever. For if the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me. Here we go, folks. Because my word has no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my Father, and you do that which you have, and you do not, and you do that which you have seen with your father. So the devil is a murderer and a killer, and his children do what they are taught by their father, the devil. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and you do that which you have seen with your father. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yehoshua said unto them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. So it was their works, not their heritage, that he was talking about as these anti-Semitic haters are trying to point to their heritage and not to their work. Because if these anti-Semitic murderers would point to the fact that these Pharisees were killers, as them being children of the devil, they would be pointing the finger at themselves in the mirror. So they had to change the subject and magically out of thin air turn it into heritage, genealogical heritage, as if somehow being a Jew makes you a child of Satan. If that were true, then they would be accusing the Messiah himself of being the child of Satan, which in effect they do, because they have replaced the name of Yehoshua with a Greek name, with a false name, rejecting the Jewish Messiah. Verse 40, but now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth. Now you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth, which I have heard from the Father. Abraham never did that. This is what he's saying. Again, he was judging them by their actions, not by their heritage. His own flesh and blood, the Jews. You do the deeds of your father. And then they said to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even Elohim. Verse 42, Yehoshua said unto them, if Jehovah were your father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from the Father. Neither did I come of my own volition, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my word. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your fathers you will do, as he was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. Because there is no truth in him, when he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. All right. The father of lies. Are you ready? Replacement theology. Lies. Sunday over the Sabbath. Lies. Persecution and pogroms throughout all Christian Europe for nearly 2,000 years. Murder. The Father in heaven has two equals. Lies. Santa Claus comes down the chimney and gives your children presents on December the 25th. Lies. Rabbits laying colored eggs. Lies. These all come from the same people. Now, let me show you something. That generation. Misinterpretation of Luke 11, verse 50 and 51. All right. Woes to the Pharisees and the lawyers. And it starts with a small detail. Verse 37, and as he spoke, a certain Pharisee besought him to dine with him. And when he went in and sat down to meat, and when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he had not first washed before dinner. And Messiah said unto him, now do you Pharisees make clean the outside of the cup and the platter, but in your inward part is full of ravening and wickedness. You fools, did not he that has made that which is outside make that which is inside also? But rather give alms of such things as you have. Behold, and all things are clean unto you. But woe unto you, Pharisees, for you tithe of the mint and the rue and all manner of herbs, and pass over justice and the love of the Father. These ought you have done, and not leave the others undone. What do you mean, pass over judgment and the love of the Father? Woe unto you, Pharisees, for you love the uppermost seats in the synagogues and greetings in the markets. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are as graves which appear not, and the men that walk over them, they are not aware of them. Then answered one of the lawyers and said unto him, Master, thus saying, you reproach us also. And he said, woe unto you also, you lawyers, for you load men with your burdens grievous to be borne, and you yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe unto you, for you build the sepulchres of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. Truly, you bear witness that you allow the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and you build their sepulchres. Therefore, also says the wisdom of Jehovah, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they shall slay and persecute, that the blood of all the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, may be required of this generation. From the blood of Abel unto the blood of Zechariah, who perished between the altar and the temple, verily I say unto you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe unto you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge, and you refuse to enter in yourselves. And them that are entering in, you blocked the door. Now, this is exactly what Christians are doing today. But before I get started on that, please notice that it says all the crimes would be required of one generation. One generation of the Jews of Israel, only one generation. What does that mean? That means every generation afterward that was persecuted are innocent victims. Therefore, after 70 AD, every Jew who died at the hands of the Gentiles have to be accounted for. In other words, their blood is on somebody's hands. Do you know whose hands they are on? Let me show you something. Revelation 16. The bowls of wrath. After all Israel is brought in back to the Holy Land, and I will prove that that's what is going to happen. Okay, but I'm going to read this first. I'll start at verse 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, go your way and pour out the vials and the wrath of Jehovah upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a horrifying and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast. I have explained to you what the mark of the beast was. It's the mark of Rome. The emblem of Rome. Now, what you need to do is go look up the emblem of Rome, and you'll find the mark of the beast. This is not difficult, folks. Let me go to that just for a second. Oh, it's not the she-wolf. If you look at the images of the emblem of Rome, go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Picture number 5. There is your emblem of Rome. That is the mark of the beast. You do that on your forehead on Ash Wednesday, you have the mark of the beast. You do it with your hand when you pray, with your right hand when you pray, you have the mark of the beast. This mark is the mark of Cain, the mark of a murderer. Now, where was I? Revelation. Upon those who had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his graven image. You sit there in your Sunday services, and you look up and you see and you bow down and worship a graven image, the image of Rome, the image of the beast. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. Now, I want you to not forget verse 2, because we're going to get somewhere eventually here, and the two verses are tied together, verse 2 and the one coming up. Verse 4, 5, 6, and 7 are tied to verse 2. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountain of water, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters saying, you are righteous, O Jehovah, which are, and you were, and shall be, because you judge this way. For they have shed the blood of the saints, and they are the Jews, the saints are the Jews, and the prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. Who? Who? Go back to verse 2 and you will find out. And for many of that's for Christianity. And also the Muslims, because they have the mark as well. And then the Muslims, Mohammedanism is merely a Protestant religion from the Catholics, as Muhammad was taught by Catholic monks. This is where he learned his craft. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, And the power was given unto him to scorch men with fire, and thus they were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name. They blasphemed Jehovah, which had power over all these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and they blasphemed again Jehovah, the Elohim of heaven, because of pain in their sores, and they refused to repent of their evil deeds. Now, Babylon. Let's go look at this for a second. Okay. I'll make sure that I have the correct So this article is on christianitybeliefs.org, and the title is Babylon is the code name of Rome. John could not openly identify Rome because that would have invited more persecution from the Romans. So he coded Revelation with the word Babylon, which the early church understood was Rome, the great city of their time. Every time that the name Babylon is mentioned in Revelation, it is followed by the Great. John identifies the great city in the following verses, which in John's day was Rome. That is absolutely accurate. And you woman which you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. Bam! That is correct. In John's days. The city that rules over the kingdoms of the earth, John's days, was Rome. This assessment is absolutely accurate how they described it, where it says John could not openly identify Rome because that would have invited more persecution from the Romans. But John actually did identify Rome as Babylon. He did, by saying, and I quote, and the woman which you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. And so, when you look at the last plague, here's what it says. The seventh bowl of wrath, verse 17 of Revelation 16. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there was a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." This is a vision, folks, that John saw. Please don't misunderstand that at that time of this happening, the throne will actually be down in Jerusalem. Okay. But this was a vision that John saw. Now, from the throne saying, "It is done." And there are voices and thunders and lightnings. There was a great earthquake, such as not was since men was upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was three parts, not was divided into three parts, was three parts. And the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came into remembrance before Jehovah to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Why? We just read it in verse 2, did we not? And in verse, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Did we not just read it? Why? And every coastland, every island, and the mountains were not found, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And then they blasphemed Jehovah because of the plague of hail, for the plague was exceedingly great. Go back to verse 6. The Romans today are Christians. The people who persecuted the Jews throughout the Middle Ages were Christians. And when it says the cities of the nations fell, it wasn't just Rome. All the cities of the nations had to fall along with Rome because of what they did to the Jews. Verse 6, for they have shed the blood of the saints, which are the Jews, and the prophets. What prophets? The last two prophets, the two witnesses. And not to mention the apostles. And you have given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. Now, Revelation 17 and verse 6. And after, there came verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying, come here, and I will show you the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters. Now don't forget, there was three. There was ancient Babylon. That's gone. There was Constantinople, Rome number 2. That one got destroyed by the Crusaders to fulfill prophecy. Then there's one last one left. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And he carried me into the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy. So all the names that are associated with Rome are names of blasphemy, including Jesus. Yes. You say no, I say yes. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. I've gone over the 7 heads and the 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand, and the abomination and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, with the Jews, and with the martyrs of Yehoshua. Now, I've talked about what this is. The martyrs of Yehoshua would be the apostles and the Sabbath-keeping followers of Yehoshua who came after the apostles. Those are the followers of Yehoshua, and the saints are the Jews. The saints are the holy people. Paul said the gifts and the calling of Jehovah cannot be changed. So if Israel are the holy people, or were the holy people in the past, then they still are the holy people. Saints means holy people. If the Jews, if Israel were the holy people in the past, and Paul said that the gifts and the calling of Jehovah cannot be changed, then the Jews are still the holy people, which makes them by default the saints. So he categorizes two different groups of people: the holy people, the Jews, and the followers of Yehoshua. You see, those who were killers, murderers, or followers of the devil, and the followers of Yehoshua would not kill anybody. That was one of their markers. They refused to raise a sword against a man. That was one of their hallmarks. And the Christians of medieval Europe gleefully raised their swords against the Waldensians, the Anabaptists, raised them up on stakes and burned them alive with fire. They did. Who did that? The children of the devil. The ones who have the emblem of Rome on their forehead on Ash Wednesday. Now, so where did this fellow Bowers, where did he learn this from? Where did he learn these lies from, Robert Bowers? Replacement theology. Now, they have already perverted. They've already perverted even this. So in Wikipedia, here's what they say. Also called replacement theology or fulfillment theology is a Christian doctrine which asserts that the new covenant through Jesus Christos supersedes the old covenant which was made exclusive with the Jewish people. Okay, first of all, do you know where the flaw is in this logic? There's something missing. Oh, that's actually a couple of things missing. Number one, supersessionism is also replacing the name of the Messiah from Yehoshua HaMashiach into Jesus Christos. That's also replacement theology. Now, they say that the old covenant was made exclusively for the Jewish people. Well, actually, that's not true either. At the time of Moses, it was made exclusively for all 12 tribes of Israel. But the lost 10 tribes did not continue in his covenant. And they broke it. And for that reason, a new covenant for the house of Israel and the house of Judah is created. Once again, for the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Hebrews 8, verses 8 through 12. All right? Let's go there. For finding fault with Israel, he said, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, so I regarded them not, says Jehovah. For this is the covenant that I will make with who? Israel. Does it say the Gentile church here? It's not what it says. It says Israel. After those days. After what days? After the 77s are finished of Daniel the prophet, and I have proven that in fact they are finished. I'm using simple fifth grade math. I will put my laws into their minds, and I will write them in their hearts, and I will be to them Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall no longer teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Jehovah, for they all shall know me from the least to the greatest. And what part of the fulfillment of the new covenant will be on the part of Jehovah? For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness. Let me ask you a question. Have the Christians been merciful to the Jews over the past nearly 2,000 years? I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. So Christian ideology today is an actual opposition to the new covenant. Because if Christianity was in line with the new covenant, Christianity would have made sure that all the land written in Joshua 1 verses 1 through 4 was given back to Israel in order to fulfill the necessary requirement for the kingdom of Jehovah to be in Jerusalem. But what did they do? Let's go to John 8, and we're going to find out what the Christians did, what the Christian nations did. Before, okay. Where was this? It's key of knowledge. Let's see. Where is the key of knowledge? It was right there in front of me. Keys of knowledge. Come on. It is in John 8 for sure. Because I just read it. Oh, it was not in we had just read it where he was talking to the lawyer. Oh, it was the where he condemns the lawyers. I'll find it here. All right, I think maybe it's in Luke 11. It might be. Here we go. Luke 11 and verse 52. Woe unto you lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge, and you entered not in yourselves. And then that were entering you hindered. And so what has happened is that now Christianity, now the shoe is on the other foot, you see. Now Christianity has done all the evil, the murder in their hearts, the murder with their acts that the Pharisees did, and also they have committed the sins of, what was it, the Sadducees, which were the lawyers, knowing that the land goes back to Israel after the 77s are finished, but not only refusing to acknowledge Joshua 1 verses 1 through 4, they're actually trying to take back land from Israel as we speak, as I pointed out just a couple of days ago. Hindering those who are trying to enter into the kingdom. And what did he say about that generation? That generation, one generation, said the blood of the prophets would be required on them, but also it's going to be required on Gentile Rome and all of Rome's sister or subjugated cities, with the exception of Jerusalem. You know it's coming. As I said, Robert Bowers is a product of Christian doctrinal lies. The devil is the father of lies, the author of murder, and this man learned it at Sunday services. That is where he learned his filth, trash, and garbage from.